As a recession looms, how do cybersecurity needs factor into the corporate spending equation? Here now with thoughts on that and how the cybersecurity landscape is evolving is CrowdStrikes CEO George Kurtz. Thanks so much for joining me today,
Great
George.
to be here.
So we are on the verge of maybe seeing a little bit of a rocky landscape in the U.S. economy, but seems like cybersecurity is pretty important for companies to continue to devote resources to. How do you think it stacks up versus other software and IT needs on a corporate level?
I think it's incredibly important when you look at the corporate hierarchy of needs. It's equivalent to shelter. It has to be in place. There's regulatory requirements, there's business resiliency requirements. So security, from my perspective, is a very resilient industry. And what we've seen is that organizations are looking to consolidate more on platforms like CrowdStrike so they can get better protection and lower their overall costs as they move into a more challenging macro environment.
So then would you say that that's a net benefit to CrowdStrike in this changing landscape if companies are looking to utilize more resources to become more cost efficient? How do you say that that impacts CrowdStrike?
Yeah, well, in general, we have 150% ROI in our solutions with a payback of 6 to 9 months. So when we think about these challenging times, it really comes down to the metrics around return and ease of use and obviously overall outcomes. So we can offer a better experience, a better security outcome with less resources and overall less dollars. And that certainly has resonated not only with the CIO and the chief security officer, but also with the CFO, which is important in these challenging times to get larger, more platform-oriented deals like CrowdStrike done.
So analysts are saying that companies in the cybersecurity space that are more broadly diversified in their offerings are going to be more resilient in the coming year. Where do you think CrowdStrike stacks up versus the competition in the broadly diversified offerings?
Well, I think we stack up really well. We have 23 today modules, and those are in various spaces, which are endpoint protection, intelligence, security and IT operations, log management, et cetera, including some services we offer around that. So with a broad portfolio like that, it's much different than a point product organization. The point product solutions are going to struggle, and consolidators like CrowdStrike in the security space, I think, are going to do well. Because again, customers want to spend more with fewer vendors and consolidate that cost and complexity.
What area of the business are you most focused on to really drive growth in the coming year?
Well, we've got some emerging products. Certainly our core endpoint technology and market continues to grow at a very rapid pace. But we've got some emerging technologies like identity. And identity-based attacks are on the rise. We see 80% of the breaches actually using stolen credentials or compromising an identity. So that's one of our fastest growing modules we've ever released is our identity solution, which really implements a zero trust architecture and allows us to prevent those lateral movements and compromises based on identity.
So you mentioned endpoint being a key business segment as well for you. How much of the annual recurring revenue for CrowdStrike is coming outside of that?
We actually don't have specific details on anything that's outside of core endpoint, but our emerging technology business continues to grow as 5 different products that we have listed. Our cloud business continues to grow, and these are in the hundreds of millions of dollars. So it's a significant business for us in the emerging area, and it continues to grow at a very rapid rate.
And then what would you say is the key to really bolstering that recurring revenue, which is so important for software companies?
For us, the key is making sure that we're protecting customers, we have happy customers, and they have a great experience. And what that translates into is very high net retention rates, which we've talked about over the last number of years. Certainly the last year, we give it out actually after our Q4 as being over 120%. And that is a great stat for us. The second area is in the gross retention. And we've seen record gross retention. The last public number that we gave out was above 98%. So when we think about a SaaS company with high net retention rates and high gross retention rates, I think that's a sign of customers liking the technology and wanting to buy more of it.
Let's talk a little bit more about the competition. Microsoft is flexing its muscles in the cybersecurity space. How is that potentially impacting your business?
There's a lot of competition in the cybersecurity space, whether it's Microsoft or others. And I think what customers are focused on is getting the best outcome for the best bang for the buck. And we empirically can show that. When we think about Microsoft, they are busy with other things like their cloud business and applications. And many of the incident responses that we actually help customers recover from are based on failures in Microsoft technology. So what we've seen is a bit of a crisis in trust in terms of their technology of actually putting your eggs in one basket. But certainly they're a formidable competitor. They're going to be out there among others. And we've been doing this for 11 plus years. And it wouldn't be a great space if there wasn't competition. And that makes everybody better.
What would you say is the biggest challenge for the company heading into 2023?
I think there's just a lot of unknowns in 2023. If you think about that are out of many companies' control, right? Not just CrowdStrike, but you think about the geopolitical environment. You got the war in Ukraine. You've got, a looming recession. It's probably the worst telegraphed recession that we're going to have. You've got interest rates. I mean, you got elections coming up. There's all kinds of moving parts. But I think from a company perspective, if we continue to do the right things, focus on cash flow generation, which we have over 30%. We continue to focus on growth. Our last rule of 40 number was 83%, which is pretty much us and Snowflake as the top of the class. Those are the areas that we're going to focus on. And I think there's a great opportunity for some smaller acquisitions in companies that may not get their next round of funding at the valuations that they're looking for.
Interesting. So what would you say as CEO of CrowdStrike is your number one priority for this year?
Number one priority is really focusing on our core modules that we have, our new business, and extending those out, making sure that we continue to cross-sell into customers. And if we keep customers happy, they continue to buy more. If we keep our employees happy, they continue to stay. And overall, I've been through a few recessions. It's not my first rodeo. We believe we can come out bigger and stronger through any looming macro headwind, whatever it's ultimately labeled as.
Yeah, and speaking of the workforce, do you feel like there's a lot of competition for talent and perhaps a shortage of the skills that CrowdStrike needs to really grow its business? How are you attacking that?
There's been a shortage in security skills for a long time. Some say up to 3 million in terms of security practitioners. We hire a lot of the same people that the largest tech companies are looking to hire: big data technologies, AI technologies, cloud technologies. So I think when you look at maybe some of the other companies that are right-sizing the organization, there's probably a good opportunity for us to pick up some good talent in the future.
And lastly, what would you say is the biggest opportunity ahead for CrowdStrike and more broadly the industry as it continues to innovate?
I think AI is still in its early days. When we think about what can be done with AI, and you've seen maybe some of these chat AI technologies, pretty interesting in what can be done. There's a lot more that can be done. We're, I think, pioneering in that. So we're not the only player in security, and we're certainly not the only player using AI, but as an industry, I think rallying around effective AI is important. And really what's critical there is to understand it's the data that really makes the AI algorithms. It's not the algorithms. So when you look at how much data that we actually collect, over 7 trillion events per week, that really helps those algorithms. And I think it's the evolution. I'd love to come back in a couple of years and show you some of the things that we're working on and what we've been able to do.
Well, we look forward to it. Thank you so much for your insights today. It's great speaking with you. Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching Investors Business Daily on YouTube. If you want to watch more videos, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing.